What up, everybody? My name is Stefan, and this is Heat Check from the Heat Check Arena, straight to Gil's Arena, to one of my favorite players my favorite player growing up, Gilbert Arenas. What up, Gil?
Thank you. Thank you. How you doing?
Hey, great, great. I was trying to see if you like this studio because I know your arena is all decked out with jumbotrons and stuff like that. I feel this is okay.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Is that a Knicks in the back?
I'm a Knicks fan. I'm a Knicks fan. Haven't seen the Wizards since you left. I gotta be honest. Gotta be honest. Let's get straight into it. The situation in the East, not to say it's all done, but you got the Bucks, you got the Celtics, you know where the battle is going to be. Philly maybe lurking behind, but the situation out west is crazy. You got the Ja Morant situation now. We don't know what's going to happen with that. Denver, nobody trusts them. It might be similar to the 95 season where the Rockets went all the way from the sixth seed, or like the 99 season where my Knicks went all the way to the finals from the eighth seed. What do you think about that? Is it possible for stuff like that to happen this season?
Yes, when you're talking about, the West, there's so much talent in the West that you can't really trust a seed, right? You have Denver, you don't trust them, but they're number one, right? You have Sacramento, who is a young team, number two. So if you're any type of veteran team that's waiting for the playoffs, so if you're like the Lakers or the Warriors, that seven seed is something you're really looking into. Because that looks like a winnable series due to the fact that those guys are young. So then you have who's at three right now?
Memphis.
Suns,
Memphis 3, Suns 4. Yep.
Yeah. So there's so many. When you're talking about 1, 2, 3, no one trusts the 1, 2, 3 at this moment in time. Right. So a 6 seed, a 5 seed really has a great chance to be in the finals due to who's at the 1, 2, 3 seed. So at this point, it's basically going all down to seeding and who you play, first round, second round, and see if you can get one of those little easy tunnels to the, Western Conference Finals. And once you get there, anything can happen. So if you're Golden State Warriors, right, and you land the 7 seed and you're playing Sacramento first round, those are home games for you, right? Those are home games because when you go to Sac, all of Oakland's going to come down. So you're really favored in that 7 seed. And then from there, you're going to play what, a 3-6.
3-6. Yeah.
So 3-6 would be, whoever's in front of you, and Memphis. I don't think you're worried about that team either. Yeah. Then if you play Denver, you see what I mean? It can be some type of easy slide, if you're a 7 seed. So it's really all with, how it places out. And then once you see, it becomes a little bit clearer once the playoffs are actually put together.
So you mentioned the Golden State Warriors, and I have it here. I don't know if you know this, but since December 25th, for 2.5 months, Klay is like averaging 25.5 points on 43% from downtown. Klay is back. And so I wanted to get your perspective. Like, you come into the playoffs as a lower seed, maybe, against a team like Chicago that you beat as a lower seed, or, your battles against Cleveland. So what's your, mindset? Are you thinking about, can we go all the way, or do you think about that? Or do you think about, hey, let's win one game, one series, let's get this game, let's steal the one on the road? What's your mindset when going into a playoff round?
When you're going into the playoff round, you are thinking short term, but you're thinking long term, right? You're thinking about, all right, who do we have in front of us? All right, we have this team. All right, then if they win this series, we'll have them. Okay, this can be a real chance, right? If everything aligns. So you are thinking, long term, but in the meantime, you are thinking at that moment in time, because the playoffs is different than regular season. It's a total different game. It's more of a half court game, and it's more about individual players on offense and team defense. When it comes to individual offense, we're talking about guys who can create their own offense, because The defense knows exactly what you're going to do. They know every play you're going to run, right? We get this booklet. We get this booklet of everything a player does, like how many times he's going to come off a screen, what's his percentages. So if you're really studying as a team, you know everything somebody wants to do. So it becomes really important for individuals that can like break away from the offense, create their own shot. So, guys like Dame is amazing. You can't control like a Clay from shooting from, 35 feet out. Those are not in scouting reports that he's going to do that. So those little things that can open up a game and change the defense is very important. So the Lucas and Kyries, the Devin Bookers, that's why when you have a great playoff series and you average like, let's say 15 during the regular season, and then you average like 22 in the playoffs, you can get a max contract off that just one series because it is not designed for you to play well.
One thing I wanted to mention about the Sacramento Kings, since I have it here in my notes, Kings top 5 in transition offense, 28 in half court efficiency. So you're talking about slowing down, the defense being set, knowing what you're going to do. They're number 1 in points per game, but 25th worst defense. So all of the things that matter in a playoff game goes against them. So
that's what, that's all that matters. So like you're talking about, it's a young team. They have the legs on everyone, right? You remember it was like Phoenix back in the day.
Right.
Very great in regular season, had troubles in the playoffs. Same thing here. When you put him in a half court and you say, you have to make plays in the half court set. You can't use your speed. You can't outspeed everyone. Yeah. Then that becomes the problem with them, and that's what's going to hurt them in the playoffs. So they're going to have to get a team that can that's willing to run with them.
But since the regular season awards are given for the regular season, my pick, Mike Brown is my pick for Coach of the Year.
No, yeah, you're absolutely right.
Kings,
I don't see how anyone wins it because the Kings was not expected to do anything this year.
Nowhere.
And having him in second, even if they finish third, what he's done with that young roster is just amazing, and he really deserves that.
Right. So you mentioned Dame Lillard a few moments ago. So I wanted to ask you, like, what's your opinion on that situation? Because obviously he's going into the tail end of his prime. He's still with Portland. They keep saying we're building around Dame, but this is nowhere near a competitive, like a contender team. So for my eyes, when I look at the all-time players that didn't win a championship, that stayed with one team, you got guys like Reggie, you got guys like Stockton and Malone. Malone went, with the Lakers at the end, but Ewing also at the end. But players like that, they had postseason success, like going to conference finals multiple times, finals, all of them. Dame, like, that hasn't been the case. He went one time, if I'm correct, to the conference finals, and he got swept. Ever since then, it's been tough. So we hear loyalty, but if you're him, what's your train of thought? What would you say to him?
So that is the biggest contradiction that we have seen in the last about 14 years now. The biggest contradiction is win in your own town, right?
Right.
So you can be like Dame and all of them and be in your own city and never win because your city, your team does not pull in players that's going to actually elevate you to that next level. Then you have a player like LeBron James who is sitting in one of those cities and decided, I don't want to be this. I'm supposed to be the next Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, these icons, these rings. I'm not going to get them here because no one wants to come here. So I need to leave and go win it. When you look at him, you're like, he's ring chasing, right? He's ring chasing because he left to go get rings. And then what ends up happening is the NBA rewards Cleveland for LeBron leaving by giving them 4 number 1 picks out of the next 5 years. Yeah. And one of those picks ended up being Kyrie, who was playing well. So he decides to go back because he has another player that he can use to take him to the promised land. I don't see how they not say he's ring chasing after he's already said he's going to have to be traded. The small cities get penalized for being there. So those players sit there and rot if they can't win a championship. And that becomes a problem. So Dame will be sitting there rotting and, being loyal. And then if he leaves to go to the Lakers, what happens next? Ring chasing. Couldn't do it on his own. Those are rare moments of a small city team winning a championship. So when you have the example of Magic, Jordan, Bird, you're talking about three big cities where everyone else came to them. Right. So when you're talking about, 90, was it 96 when it merged? Nobody really remembers the draft of 96, 97, 98. No one really knows. It was the big iconic Magic Johnson, right? This flashy, this guy with this amazing smile. Like, we have a real face behind him. And then right after him, Bird, his counterpartner. Oh, we can make this into something. And what ends up happening is you will ask yourself, how did the Lakers get Magic? How did Celtics get Bird? Because if you look at the history before that, there's no way these two players land there. This doesn't even make sense. It's in today's game. It's like putting Wemby in LA and you take or Wemby with Golden State and you take Scoot Jackson and Henderson. Put him with the Lakers, like just to in heighten because they had a bad 1 year. Right? So like,
am I reading in between the lines? So do we transition into how the Knicks got Patrick Ewing and the envelope thing? Are you alluding to that? Maybe
everything ain't random, right? I hope we don't think as humans that we're that stupid, right? We pretend to be and think everything is fair. But this is a business, this is a corporation, this is a global thing that you're trying to build, right? You
got to take care of the product.
You don't know what you have yet. You remember, this is the 80s. It's not now. We're in the 80s. We're trying to figure out what we have. We're trying to build this structure. Now imagine Magic and Bird in horrible cities, non-marketable cities, right? Do you get the same impact?
I see what you're saying.
He ends up in, if there was a Memphis, they end up in Memphis, or, they end up, it doesn't give the same iconic impact. You put these two in these major cities. Now, what if Jordan did go to the Blazers? Does he become Jordan? Does the Air Jordan, does the big shoes, does it move the masses? No, Chicago is the mass mover. And that's why when everyone talks about the Chris Paul Laker trade, the reason that, because I was involved behind the scenes in it because I was in Orlando.
Okay.
Dwight Howard.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, so what's going on is, we're just coming out of the lockout. So I'm on the amnesty. So I'm getting so while the talks are going on, what's happening is you have Chris Paul is being traded, right? So he's being traded for Paul Gasol and Lamar Odom, right? No one's thinking about the end. Right. Lamar Odom, Chris Paul, those two go, right? On the back end, you have Dwight Howard being negotiated for Bynum. So that's what's in the back, right? So they're trying to figure out, do we amnesty me, or do they force the Lakers to take my contract with Dwight Howard? If you want Dwight Howard, you're going to take Gilbert. Y'all can amnesty Gilbert, and we can trade Gilbert and Dwight, and then we can amnesty Turkoglu. Then we cleared our whole cap space.
Were you really that involved into it? Like it
Yeah,
was
because my contract is stuck with them.
Yeah.
So what ends up happening is if Lakers is going to make the trade and you want Dwight Howard because he doesn't want to be here, we want you to take Gilbert's contract.
How much was left from that 111?
Would it have been 88 or 66? 66 million.
I guess 66.
Yeah, so 66 because Turkoglu was on a 30 million. So what ends up happening is you trade. You don't want my deal, because if you want my deal, my money sits. And then you have to amnesty me to clear it up. So what ends up happening is when they made the first part of the deal, Mark Cuban seen this. What he seen was when Chris Paul went, so Mark Cuban is the one that kind of called foul play on it. So when you have Chris Paul going, and then you have Kobe, if you make the Dwight trade, they amnesty me. What is left over is $24 million. So they have $24 million in cap space. Back then, so now you have Chris Paul, Kobe, Dwight with an extra $24 million. At that time, $24 million, you're talking about they could have made a run for LeBron James as a free agent. Because you got to remember, when he signed over there,
Contracts were not as big back then. So
12 million was the starting point. So you could have signed 2 max players, starting them off at 12. Now think about, at the time, we're talking about max. We're talking about LeBron James and a Bosh, right? You're talking about a Dwayne Wade and an Amari. So you're talking about 2 max players being added to the Lakers roster. So let's just think about, like, okay, so we'll just add LeBron James and, even though they were already there, we're just talking about the caliber players of max. Right. So you can add LeBron and Bosh, right? So you have Chris Paul, Kobe, LeBron, Bosh, Dwight Howard. Okay?
82 off.
When Kobe's contract is over, he's opting out of $24 million. Do you need Kobe at this point, where you can go and get 2 more max players, where you could have went out and got a Kevin Durant and someone else?
Wow. So you're gonna.
So when Kobe handicapped them, they didn't have to bring Kobe back, because at that point you already have 4 young stars and you have enough to get 2 more stars. So you technically had the fucking whole USA team. They would have been a dynasty for the next 10 years.
Yeah.
And that's what Mark Cuban seen. And it was like, no, he cannot go there. He cannot. That is cheating. You cannot give away your player. And that's what actually, threw the flag on there, because they had too much money left over. They didn't care about Chris Paul and Kobe linking up. They had too much money left over from that deal. And that was the problem, that they can manipulate the next 10 years.
It's interesting because the official reason that I've heard from, I don't know, either the commissioner or somebody linked with the league, was that, you remember back then the team was owned by the league itself.
Yeah, something happened where they didn't have an owner, and the team the team was owned by David Stern.
And so the league as a whole did not like the package that they got for their team in return. So that's why they nixed the trade.
Now, that was the excuse, right?
Yeah, that was the official reason. Yeah, back then.
So why would the NBA care if they're the ones making the the trade?
Yeah, it
right?
kind of
They're
doesn't make sense.
making the trade and they're getting back Paul Gasol and Lamar Odom. Why wouldn't they want those two players? Right?
Yeah,
Why,
I don't
why
know.
would you want Lamar Odom and Paul Gasol at that time? So this is, so it's one of those things where it doesn't sound right. So but that's the real story behind the scenes, that the Lakers had too much money. So basically, Mark Cuban's complaint was, you just talked about small markets losing the big players to big cities. We had this whole lockout about this shit because the lockout, Mark Cuban wasn't complaining about the lockout because he don't care. Dolan don't care about the lockout because he don't care. So none of the rich owners actually cared. Right? It was the small teams, the Memphis Grizzlies. Those teams are complaining about losing their players, being overbid. So like if Paul George is in Indiana and they're saying, oh yeah, he's worth 100 million, and Lakers like, we'll give you 140. They can't compete with 140 because 140, 100. Dolan don't care about that. Mark Cuban didn't care about that. So they're not the ones that were complaining. So Mark Cuban is like, you just complained. We missed these many games. I lost this much money, and you're gonna do exactly what we were just arguing about, small market teams and this whole blah blah blah. And you just gave away a small market team. You just gave away your best player to a big market. It doesn't make sense. We're gonna veto, and that's why all the teams vetoed it.
Crazy.
Who did they get for Chris Paul at the Clippers? Like Chris Kaman or something like?
Eric Gordon or something? I don't know.
Yeah.
Eric Gordon. Yeah.
So the Hornets love the Eric Gordon and all of that, but not. You see how they just say.
It's crazy how this is another example of how you view the game and the overall picture, and you look behind the scenes always. And a lot of people don't know, actually, I want to transition from this. A lot of people don't know that you're so good with seeing things out on the court and overall scouting. People don't know that LeBron actually contacted you. You said this on a podcast, I believe, to kind of see what type of player Bronny is when he was way younger. What was that interaction like? I'm fascinated by LeBron James contacting you. I know that you had a good relationship, even though you battled in the playoffs. But talk a bit more about that. How that whole thing came out.
It's just like anything in competition, right? When you're looking at as a content creator, right? You have someone that you look at. Definitely. You have someone that does something different than you, and you try to figure out what it is, and you respect the details that they're bringing in. Same thing, in basketball. We watched each other's talent. We're trying to see like who can outsmart who. So, when LeBron came to town, he can't be the teacher because he still has his professional career that he has to put his mind to. He's still a father. So he's looking because he wants to make sure, like, am I looking at my son the right way? What's going on? Like, what am I missing? So he reaches out. Hey, my son is going to be playing and practicing over there. Can you take a look at him and give me what you think? Because he knows I'm going to give him the real deal. I'm not going to like sugarcoat. He wants someone to really give him a real fair ranking and fair evaluation. And he knows I'm going to do it. So, I go watch it.
This is when? A few years ago?
So Bronny is coming into his first freshman year.
Okay.
So this is when he got to town. So that 21 or 2020? No, 1920.
20, yeah. 1920, yeah.
So that year, so I'm just, that summer, I'm watching them, and I can see all the raw ability. And it was one of those things where I remember we're at UCLA. I got this transitional one-on-one game, make it, take it. You got to keep going. like, first one to 21, but you're playing like full court. So it's full court, one-on-one on one. He lost like 2 straight games. One game he didn't score. And I sat here and said, I'm sorry. Listen, are you LeBron James Jr., bro? You're LeBron James Jr., right?
Trying to light that fire.
You're this, like, you have this beast inside of you. Like, won't you let it out? Fuck them. How about that? Fuck them. I don't want them to score no more. If they don't score no more, right? I said, if they score again, you got to do this. I don't want no one to touch the ball. And he was like, all right, deal. All right. And oh my God, no one touched the ball. Like he was doing, like, it was like he turned into like some Westbrook, Kawhi Leonard. Like he did a Euro where he bounced the ball, and when he bounced it, he cuffed it like, and then was just at the rim. And I'm sitting here like what? These are 2 different players. This is not even the same kid like last game. This is a whole, and just the stuff he was doing, it was just hard pounding, step back. And I'm just sitting here. I hit LeBron's like, yo, you don't have to worry about this kid, bro. Like, this is like the stuff I just seen. This is just unreal. The only downfall is pulling it out of him. Like, he's so unselfish that it hurts him. And it will hurt the team, because you have a real animal built inside that can be unstoppable if it's triggered. So what ends up happening is you have a guy who's capable, his body, he's capable of having 36 and 6. He can average that. But he thinks it's okay. He likes everyone that he will average 12, 10, and 5, because he's going to make the right play. And, it was trying to tell him, like, sometimes the right play is you being dominant. That is the right play. So what ends up happening is he doesn't get a fair shake, because he's always played with high level players that no one's actually ever seen his full potential. And that's the real downfall. Someone says, oh, he's a top 10 player. I'm like, yeah, he's a top 10 player. Yeah. So he's never been in a situation so you can actually see him average 30.
Right. So he's climbing up the rankings. Where do you see him on the draft board when he decides, or he finally can commit to the draft? Where do you see him? What range?
So what happens with the draft board with him, like going through, like, when he has to compete against other players, he's by himself, which means he has to do him. And I think that's where he's going to shoot up at. You got what? He can't come in this year, is next year.
I feel like next year is the first year that he can come in.
First year, so going to college, I don't know what they would do. I don't know if he would go to college, if he would go to the G League to train for to train for the year as an NBA player, get ready for the draft. That makes the most sense to me. That you put him in the G League and you just prep him for the draft. Like, so he has an advantage. Like the advantage over a college player is, while you're in class, he gets to train. So he puts in more reps than you actually can. That's what benefits him. Being out of the spotlight, because on college, you're on national TV, you lose that aspect of it. So I'll be surprised if he's not a lottery pick, because he has to work out for the draft. And once you see him work out, then you will see what he actually has.
The way I see him, I know you can see the game much better than me, but he kind of looks to me like a guy like Drew Holiday, or like a strong guard. I wouldn't say that he's going to be like a bigger forward type like LeBron is. I don't see him getting to that size, but like a strong big guard like Drew Holiday, I see him That's his
But
player comp to me.
yes, and that's the funny part. That's his player comp, which his comp should be Westbrook that plays like Drew Holiday.
Oh, okay.
Because he doesn't, Drew
The
does,
mentality.
no, Drew Holiday doesn't have his athletic ability.
Oh, okay.
He moves like, when you think about explosion, and that's Westbrook's explosion. He jumps and does the all that athletic. Drew Holiday doesn't do that.
Right.
So it's he has the Westbrook for guards, the John Moran, that's the type of athleticism he has, with Drew Holiday's mentality of trying to run the offense. So that it's a bigger cap than you would think. When you talk about Drew Holiday, you're not, now let's say Drew Holiday has Westbrook jumping ability. It becomes a different player. So it's like you'll take the downward. He has this ability, but he plays here.
Higher ceiling for Bron.
He has he will have a higher ceiling than Drew Holiday, but he's at Drew Holiday's, style. And
I understand. Okay, let me give you a few players. I got like Dylan Brooks, I got Derek White, got Jared Vanderbilt, Quentin Grimes, players unheralded that not a lot of people maybe notice on a night-to-night basis, but I love them. So from your perspective and your mind and your eyes, what you see, give me like one or two players that you're like, I love to watch him. Like every time I see him.
I watched him train all summer before he came into the draft. I like him. Like I actually like that kid. I thought he was better than is it Suggs? Yeah, so I thought he was better than Suggs, more impactful. Because I don't know if he was McDonald's. I think he was a McDonald's player. Yeah, I think he was a McDonald's. Grimes was a McDonald's player. But I loved his skill. Like but those are guys that if you get drafted to the wrong team and they don't use you right, so there's a lot of players that's being misused versus what, I think everyone has the potential to be a star if they're put in the right situation. You remember when like Duhan, when D'Antoni got the Duhan, that first year in the Knicks, and he's averaging 12 assists.
Yeah.
Because that system made him look like an amazing, pass first point guard. It's a system. So if you get the right system that highlights your ability, the sky's the limit.
I understand.
I like Josh Christopher. I like Kenyon Martin Jr. On the right team, he can change if you put him with like Golden State and Steph.
Athletic, can move, can jump,
he'd be a whole different player. You're over here struggling to get minutes on this team, last place team, struggling to get minutes. You go with, Curry and them, you'll be playing 28 minutes a game. You know what I mean? So, guys like that in a different situation is a whole different player. I just think sometimes when you put these young players around young players, they all pick up bad habits. They become loser type of.
Boy, that Houston team, a lot of problems in there.
But, it comes with coaching, like situations like that, they need certain coaches. Like that's my thing with NBA and NBA coaches. You all are great at something, right? Some of you guys are builder coaches. That means you are great at building the foundation.
Right.
Not necessarily moving and building the house and furnishing the house, which is the champions, so like somebody like if I'm Houston, I'm going to give a 4-year contract. You have 4 years and then you're done. That'd be like Stan Van Gundy. He's going to put the discipline into the players. He's going to put the discipline, the hard work, the understanding of the basketball. He's going to make them accountable for all their mistakes. He's going to, so I need you for 4 years with this team, and then I'm going to replace you, and then I'm going to bring somebody in that can take them to the top.
To the next level.
Because that's not what Stan Van Gundy can do. Because at some point, those players overgrow his style. It gets, it can drain you. Mm-hmm. When you're young, you don't really know any better. But, once the players start realizing, this dude is annoying, that's when I get rid of him, bring in somebody else that can, that I can bring in a player coach. You have a player coach with guys that don't really know the game, it kind of really destroys everything that has going on.
Yeah, definitely. If we get in towards the end of the season, we see players going down with an injury. We see players resting, then load management talks and stuff like that. I don't want to get into the whole load management thing with you. That's a bit of a boring topic for me, honestly. But I did want to ask you, like, what are the methods that players use to kind of recover better? I know you were famous for using that hyperbaric chamber, was it?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Can you explain more about that? Did you go to sleep in there? Was that like a tent? What is that? And how did it help you?
Okay, listen. That was more of a summer thing, working out. How I recover, don't practice.
Oh, okay.
Listen, all of it is bull. It's what happened is these outside companies convinced teams of methods, and we can check your body. I remember it was my 90 or 2006-07 season. The guy came in there and they're putting all these electrodes on me, right? And they're checking everything. And they're saying, oh man, your body performance level right now is 20%. So with this output, you're not going to have a great game today. You're going to be fatigued. And I said, that's what this is telling you? Does this tell you that the guy across the way I'm playing against, I've been busting his ass for the last 4 years. He can't play defense. He's scared of me. I'm going to have 40 tonight. Does any of this tell you that? I don't think so. I'll pass, right? Take it off. 40, 43, actually, right? So, but they convinced the league that this technology will help prevent injury. So they're waiting. So you're resting. So if I play Monday, I play Tuesday, then I play Friday, they're thinking we miss games, we do all this, and we'll be fresh. What ends up happening is your timing is off, right?
Right.
It's just like doing, if you, like, how often do you do your show?
I mean, this is a YouTube channel, so I put out videos about 3 a week or something like that.
Okay, now, what if you did it once a week, right? What ends up happening is you will think that you will put out the best content because you have a week to prep for it.
And I've actually
thought about that, right?
About that.
The more you do it, the more in sync, the more everything clicks, the more and that's what's happening with the sport. They're deconditioned. They're resting so much that their muscles, their body is not ready to do what it was doing when you was going full blast. So now you think you have rest. Now when you go out there and you're trying to guard these guys and they're sitting there tweaking, oh, I pulled my hamstring, because your muscles is not prepped for this anymore. You're resting so much. It's like you're in a fucking summer. It's like me right now. If me and you wanted to play one-on-one and you're like full court one-on-one, and I'm like, all right, I've been wrestling for 10 years. And I go out there, I'm going to tear my Achilles. I'm going to rip a few, ligaments in my knee. I'm going to pull my back. You know how that works. They haven't figured that out yet. They think it's being overused and that's why it's being injured. But the guys who have been resting the most are the ones that's getting injured. Kawhi has rested the most in the last 4 years. He's missed damn near the most games because he's taking so much rest that his body is not in sync. So he's having little knick-knack pains versus me. I played all the time. I played all year round. I never got out of shape. Rip Hamilton ran up and down all game, and then after the game, he's running a mile. Right? Before the game, he's running a mile. He never missed any games. He was never tired because at the end of the day, what am I practicing for?
Definitely.
I don't need to practice.
Play the game.
What are we practicing for? But think about how James Harden plays the game, right? Do you think they go to practice to do that shit? We're going to spend 2 hours of you just doing this. No, right? Yeah. So what are we practicing for, right? We're not practicing for you to do that shit. You're going to do it in a game. When we're practicing, we're not calling all my plays like we're doing in the game because I averaged 30. No, so you're doing a whole bunch of stuff that does not relate to the game. We're going to go through a whole bunch of plays for the big man who's never going to get the ball, right? We're not going to pass him the ball in the game, right? Right? So the other team who doesn't play, who doesn't come off the bench, they're sitting there, being the other team, they're being, Steph. Okay, we're playing Golden State. They get to be Steph. Never going to get in the game. Like, well, why are we here? Right? Why are we here? Right? So it ends up being rest day. So what Allen Iverson said, practice, he was right. We're all looking at it like, what did he do wrong? None of us, we don't practice.
What are we talking about?
We're sitting there, we're resting. Those are rest days. I'll come in, I'll like warm up with the team. But when it goes to doing all of that's when I save my legs. I'm going in the jacuzzi. I'm going in the cold tub. Like on the night before the game, I got my legs elevated, so all the blood rush out of my legs, right? You're getting massages, you're stretching. Like, sit. I don't need to miss actual games because I'm fatigued. That's not even a real thing. That's not a real thing. That's not a real thing. It takes, 36 hours before you recover all 100? Right. So, if we play today, we play tomorrow, I at least get 85% back. That's fine. That's fine. I got this. I got him tonight. It's fine. I'm good with 85%. Like unless you're injured, you're injured. Other than that, stop.
I gotta say, thank you for this rant because I 100% support this. I'm all for it. Yeah, if you're healthy, you can play. You're a superstar, you can play. Like,
because you're never 100% healthy. The only time you're 100% healthy is if you don't do nothing. Your body feels great, right. But you ain't done nothing. Your bodies ain't prepared to do anything anyway. So if you're a weightlifter and you're lifting weights every day and you look all shredded, your muscles is sore. It's not like you got that physique and you have zero pain in your body. No, you might, I just did push-ups a little sore. You're going to have some type of ache going through your body because you're performing at a high level. So it's just, it's fake. They put in something, they believed in something, and they haven't realized that it's actually the opposite. What do they tell you with high-end cars, right? The longer it sits, the worse it is for the car. Right. You have to keep the engine going, the wheels, everything. That's how it's made. It's made to move. If you let it sit, it rusts and breaks. So if you get this Bugatti and you haven't drove it and you just let it sit there for 10 years, when you cut that shit on, those parts are going to start fucking breaking.
I don't think that me and you have the same cars in our garage, so I don't know if I've heard that, but yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Coming into the home stretch, I value your time. Thanks for being here. And I wanted to ask you a few questions about the new show that you're doing with, was it Underdog Fantasy?
So Underdog Fantasy called Gil's Arena on YouTube.
Bigger production value is all crazy. You got the earpieces and it almost looks like an ESPN show, but like it has the flair of just guys talking and just chilling, talking basketball.
That's exactly how I wanted the show. We have our podcast, we have podcasts Players have their podcasts. We're interviewing each other. We're getting, so with, the football sports, no chill on, football, that's the interview, side of it. And then when you're looking at, the ESPNs and the TNT, and you're like, I got an idea. I'm going to create the same element, so I had to pitch this, and soon as, they heard, Underdog heard, it was like, we like it. So it's basically like the Pat McAfee of just the basketball side.
Right.
So, we have the players, we're going to have guests, we're going to have call-ins, so the show is going to evolve. This is just the bottom level, but it's unfiltered, sports talk takes, 3 times a week, talking the game, nothing about interviews, and reporting live, sports, just like, ESPN, TNT. Hopefully we get to do in-game stuff where we can commentate on in-games just like, or at halftime.
Oh, wow.
Just like them. But it's real, raw. When you're talking about information and you want information so you can learn, so you can understand, that is hard to give if you have guidelines.
Yes.
If you have guidelines, if you have
limitations and what you can say, what you cannot say.
And, so now you have to try to talk around narratives, right? You have to talk around it, and hopefully the fans get it. Yeah. And, I tell some people, like, sometimes, the smartest people in sports are not the smartest, because the education that they have puts them at a different, you're talking like a politician,
right,
to sports fans.
Right.
Talk the language, use the verbiage of sports fans. We don't want to hear your big ass words. You're just going, I don't want to have to look in the dictionary to see how this equate to, him going 0 for fucking 6. Just say the fucking word that matches 0 for 6. And that's where, sports has to come back to just sports, to just talk, right. Normal sports talk, so everyone can understand. He sucks. You don't have to use certain words to beat around. He just sucks. Okay, that's it. There's no other word that sucks. Everyone got that.
Absolutely.
So that's all it is. So we have WNB players. That's that's going to be part of our rotation. Right now the whole thing is be consistent. Be consistent. And then from there, just progress, understand, learn, tweak, and try to just get better. We go through feedback, we look back at it. I even sit here sometimes, figure out how to, like you heard me, like, is it too bright? You're trying to figure out, it's never about quantum leaps in nothing you do. You don't want to, like, I have this backdrop and then it's changed tomorrow. Everybody's like, what's going on? It looks like you're not professional. All you do is just, tweak it little by little
Get
by little.
1% better every time. That's all you need. 1% better.
Like, even if I see something drastic, I don't attack it. I just tweak it. Like, I know, like, when I have the show, when it's on a wide screen, when you can see me and Josiah, you can see the full logo.
Yes.
When they do close up, you can't see the logo, but you can see the screen. We've known that day one. But right. That's part of that problem is going to be fixed. I think with phase 2, because we're going to lift and we're going to be more on a stage. Then you can see the whole.
I know what you mean. Yeah,
so it's like, instead of trying to adjust it now, we're good. Let's just get the consistency, the numbers, pushing out the shorts, what titles is hitting, what looks is hitting. You're just trying to figure out the metrics of YouTube. So when I'm on YouTube, I watch everyone. Like no one is, if you look at the best, okay, I look at the best. When I look at you from the beginning. I don't look at you now.
See the progression.
I want to see the progression. Okay, all right. Because, looking at you now, it'd discourage someone.
Absolutely.
Right? I don't want to be discouraged. I don't want to look at your sub count and see that. Like, no, I want to, where did he start? Okay, he started here. All right, look at the improvement. Okay, well, I like the backdrop. Okay, he changed this, he does that. And you can see the progression. As long as you follow the model, you're going to be successful because you're successful. I can't follow you and be a failure if you're successful, right? If I fail, it's because I'm trying to skip and get to where you are right now.
I love the approach. I love the mindset, but obviously you're financially stable. What's the mentality now? What's the motivation behind you're working a lot? You got your show with Underdog. You got your podcast with Fubo. Like you're doing different things. What's the motivation now?
Dwayne Wade told me this. So getting into the podcast, it was just, what is the next thing? What do I do?
Is this the story where you went
driving
through traffic? Yeah.
Yes, just driving, trying to waste time. I'm waking up every day. I still wake up 5:30, 6 o'clock. Because that was my training. That was my first training. So I'm waking up 5 or 6 o'clock every single day. So it's like, what do I do? Even now, even right now. And this is hilarious because I know it's a problem. I still can't change it. I wake up 5:30, 30-minute shower, out of the house by 6:30. Now, I live 7 to 8 minutes away from the gym, right? One, I have a gym right here. I don't want to use it, right? I don't want to use it. So I use every excuse to use the machines there versus the machines here, right? I've convinced myself that those machines are better, so I don't use this. So I leave the house at 6:30, 8 minutes away. 8 minutes away. I don't get into the gym, the physical gym, until 8:30. That means 2 hours. I'm making excuses to, like, I'm driving around the block. Like I'm going, I gotta go get like a energy drink from this spot, right? Oh, this song, and I gotta go this way. And I just waste 2 hours of nothing. Go in the parking lot, pretend I'm texting, look at some YouTube clips, play some video games. And then 8:30, my brain says, oh, time to work out. And then I go into the gym, but I'm out of the house at 6:30. If I had a girlfriend, it's over because I'm cheating somehow. There's no way this man is leaving at 6 o'clock and then doesn't get into the gym until 8:30. He's doing something. And that's what ended up happening. So me being busy kind of puts a regimen back into my life. So when me and Dwayne had the conversation, it was more treat this like you treated basketball. Don't use where you are in basketball to think that's where you are in, not YouTube, but podcasting.
Right.
You have to be a beginner. You're not an all-star. You're not an all NBA podcaster. You're a beginner podcaster, and you have to go through your levels. 5 years, 10 years from now, you will be the superstar.
This is the next challenge for you.
Yeah, you're not going to be Stephen A. Smith today. Stephen A. Smith, it took him 22 years to get where he's at. You're going to have a faster path because you're famous. Take your steps. So that's where it gave me the like, you're right. Like if I'm going to do it, I need to go backwards and start it over like I'm a beginner, trying to be successful in this world. And I like the process. And it's the process because NBA players, to be honest, and people I know they're not going to agree. they have the hardest life when they're done playing.
I definitely see what you're saying. Yeah, I
No
know.
matter how much money the person has,
Right.
what they don't have is who they are outside of what they were.
Right.
So, most people who, you don't have, you never became this, but you have a regimen that you've been doing for the last 10, 15 years, 20 years of your life.
You've said
Right. So
that you were like, I wake up, I go to the to shoot around, I come back, take my nap, stuff like that. Now all of that is gone. You said it.
all of it's cold turkey. Now it's say, all right, now what? You're gonna go party, do this, hey, and then it becomes like, all right, whew, man, that was 2 weeks. All right, I got the rest of my life. What am I doing? And you're getting depressed because you don't have nothing to do. For the first time in your life, you have all the time in the world, and you don't know what to do. You're nobody. You're literally nobody. You don't have nothing to do. And it's just like start over, and you don't have no trade, you don't have no skill. You're just famous with money. Sounds cool when you're 20. But when you've done, you know what I mean? If I tell you right now, all right, go to this island's yours, right? You can't do this anymore, right? You got all the food and food. You're gonna like, after 2 weeks, you're gonna like, what is this? I don't want this shit. I don't want this life. This is stupid. Right? This is dumb. I know how being busy works for me. This doesn't work for me. So this is why I'm, creating shows and trying to stay busy.
I love that you took that route, and I love watching you being successful in your second career, I guess, or your second era. Last thing before I let you go, again, really appreciate your time. Talk to me. I know that you rekindled the partnership with Adidas, and you got these.
Hey,
you got a bunch more, coming out, dropping every show. You're decked out all in Adidas gear. So talk to me how that is. Do they still drop hella boxes in front of your house and stuff like that? That's a dream for a guy just watching it on TV.
Yeah. So, I was one of the faces of Adidas, back when I played. I created styles that, that's different. Like today, when I played, I was the first player. So I hold record number 1 and 2. The records are the most colorways on a single shoe in a single year.
Was it 20?
So the first one was 20, right? So I'm the first person to do that, have that many colorways in the same shoe. Now I'm number 2 with the redrop.
Oh,
12 colorways. 12 colorways of the 11 colorways of the same shoe in the same year, in 1 year. So I hold 1 and 2 for that. No one's ever done that, dropped that many colorways of the same shoe in the same year. So I was always ahead of it. So when we started talking again, and we reconnected and said, it's time. We think enough time has gone back. You have a really big brand, especially with the youth, and I think your shoe would do well. And we were right. It moved a lot of units. It's popular. I mean, you have kids, and I don't even think it was in the States like that. The original was going to move in China, be sold in China, but all of the kids here are, trying to find their connections to get it. So, it's something that everybody should look at, where I was here, dropped down, and climbed my way back, and still have the same personality. Meaning, when life comes at you and hits you down, you really can get up. You really can. I've done it. I've done it many of times, So don't look at your whole world ended. Even though listen, it's going to take you 12 years to get to a place. It's going to take 2 days to take you all the way back down. It might take you 14 years to get back to where you were. You did it the first time, you can do it the second. But sometimes when we get hit down, we think it's the end of the world and we just give up, which I did. I I did. But, once I found that this is what I want to do, I want to, be back. I don't want my legacy to be that, oh, he had guns in the locker room, so I just slowly climbed back up and here I am.
To me, watching you, I feel now you're at a great place, both, with your career, second career, stuff like that. Your whole thing, podcast, everything is booming. You got your deal again, the shoes are hot. And by the way, guys, these get crazy buckets. So cop them for sure. Yeah, Adidas, by the way, we have an entire studio to deck out. So we have locker rooms over there, shoe rack over there. So, hey, if you're in for that, sure. But yeah, Gil, I hope that I wasn't too starstruck. You were definitely my favorite player growing up. And just to, first of all, text with you was crazy, but then have this opportunity for this little chat. It's definitely a moment of a lifetime for me. So thank you so much for that. Wish you a lot of success. Keep doing what you're doing. You're great at it. Anytime, I'm all for a nice basketball chat. Anything you got, I'm here for it. Keep doing what you
want. So
when
we start doing live, starting, I think next month, when we're having call-ins. So, I told him, I said, what's important I call it the new media, right? Like, I think, the old media is old. Us, we have a better understanding, right? So, I want content creators who have platforms to call in, to ask their questions, to chat, to basketball talk, right? So I'm going to be, hey, are you available? We're going to be on, call in, and the cross promoting. That's what I'm always about, cross promoting. I'm the one who had the ideas of, remember the 20.
Yeah, the collabs that you had for your
collabs
shoes.
I did. Now, when you look at like Adidas and Gucci, Chanel, and that's where all it came from. And I think those are the best things where you got two worlds. Bring your guys together, makes you bigger. That's what it does. Like, if this is basketball and this is, fashion, these fashion people don't put them together. You guys both get each other's, audience. You guys are both bigger, but everyone's always scared, so it's like, no, I love it. Like football, basketball, sport. Let's just
Definitely. Yeah. Gilbert Arenas, you can catch him at Gil's Arena, his YouTube channel. You can catch him on the Fubo network with No Chill Podcast. And of course, you can cop these at Adidas. Gilbert Arenas, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. What's up? This is Gilbert Arenas, aka Agent Zero. Sign up to my man. Heat check. Push the like and subscribe button. Thank you.